Charlie Kirk dead. That's the big news. Charlie Kirk was shot. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because after watching the discussion on Charlie Kirk's shooting and death, I think a lot of people are fundamentally not understanding what's going on here, and they're not understanding the situation at hand, because this is a very obviously important situation. Big political figure gets shot in a very brutal way on camera with everyone watching, and obviously emotions are going to be running very high with this sort of thing. And I think that from what I'm understanding, there's a lot of people who are doing the smart thing, which is waiting to even talk about this, because obviously we don't have all the details, at least at the time of me making this video. The shooter hasn't even been caught yet, so we don't even know what the fuck is going on here. And I think it is smart to probably not say anything until we understand the full situation. But I do think that there are some fundamental things that are going to happen no matter what. And I was making these predictions saying that these things are going to happen. And if you look, I made the predictions and then some of them already started to happen. So I think let's talk about it. Let's talk about the fundamentals of the shooting, the situation, and the consequences of it, and how this could be played. Now, I think fundamentally, if I had to make a guess, I believe that the shooter was probably related to Israel in some way, shape, or form, because I think we have to start with the why they killed him, and I think why he got shot. We have to look at the political climate here. Okay, so even though, Trump gets elected, right? The reason why Trump got elected was because, he got shot. He got shot and he didn't die, but that helped rally the normie conservative right, which if we're being honest, the conservative neocons have been losing a lot of ground over these past few years, specifically to the alt-right and the leftist, okay? So we have the alt-right and the leftists both sort of eating away, especially in terms of the younger population. They especially people like Nick Fuentes have been making their move and sort of radicalizing Gen Z in a way. And I think that is becoming an issue for these normie cons, because if you have someone like Nick Fuentes who tells all the younger demographics, hey, don't vote for Trump, there's only going to be so many old people. There's only going to be so many. And I think the issue here is these newer people are saying, hey, we're not establishing ourselves with the neocon normie right. We don't really agree with that. And we also don't agree with the Holocaust and the Holocaust narratives. Then you have Charlie Kirk. He's not the top guy in government, obviously. He's not even really in government. He's not even a official politician, but he is a political commentator. He is sort of, the Shabbos Goy. He is Israel's top Goy. And I think another thing that you have to sort of throw in here is that he has also sort of been leaning a little bit away from Israel, and he started to notice.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. Now, I don't like generalizations. Not every Jewish person believes that. But it is true, the Anti-Defamation League was part and parcel with Black Lives Matter. It is true that some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. They went all in on woke, and it wasn't just ADL. It was some of the top Jewish organizations in the country. Tucker Carlson is completely correct by saying this, that the philosophical foundation of anti-whiteness has been largely financed by Jewish donors in the country.
He starts noticing, and he doesn't fully commit to it in the same way that someone like Nick Fuentes does. But he starts asking questions, and that's enough to be like, okay, well, we need a fall guy anyways. We need someone to get shot again. We need someone who is going to essentially take this hill and die on this hill for Israel. And Charlie Kirk is starting to ask questions. We may as well get rid of him. He's replaceable. It's not like he is Trump. It's not like he's, the guy who's literally like, the head of state of the United States. So if we kill Charlie Kirk, we can always replace him. In a way, it feels like to me that Charlie Kirk was a replacement for someone else, because I was talking to this with my friend. Charlie Kirk seemed like he was like a replacement for Steven Crowder. After all that Steven Crowder drama went down, it felt like sort of all of the news media, like with Steven Crowder's wife and all that drama, it felt like they replaced him with Charlie Kirk. Even though Charlie Kirk was around before this. I know that Charlie Kirk was around for years. However, I do have to bring up the fact that it felt like everyone started paying extra attention to Charlie Kirk once they kind of got rid of Steven Crowder, and now Steven Crowder's like an irrelevant fucking like nobody at this point. Like, who the fuck cares about Steven Crowder at this in the Big 25? So to put it in perspective, let's just recap a little bit. So Israel is basically in a political shitstorm because everyone knows about the Gaza genocide, and they have their Shabbos Goy here who's starting to wake up. Why not just kill him? And why not just get rid of him? Let him die. He becomes a martyr for Israel, which I said was going to happen. Which is also already happening. A lot of like Israeli people like Rabbi Shmuley and like Netanyahu have been talking about this. They're using this as political leverage. So it's like, yeah, we just kill this fucking guy, and then his beliefs that he's more known for, which is his pro-Israel beliefs, are going to essentially be martyred. He becomes a martyr for the neocons because he's dead. And now that even if he didn't die, the thing is that he still sort of would have become this martyr-like figure because he got shot. But I mean, if you just saw the video, like I can't show the shit on YouTube, obviously, but like it's very, very brutal. Like, he was going to die. It was very kind of obvious. Like, dude, he got shot in an artery. He was bleeding like crazy. Like, good fucking luck. But anyways, I think that's the thing, is that once you start to look into how this is going to roll out, it actually kind of doesn't really matter who shot him. What really, I think, matters is the political fallout that's going to happen here. Now, I think no matter what, this is going to rally the neocons and all the normie boomer conservatives. All of them are going to rally no matter what. And now, whether you are or aren't one of these people, I think you sort of have to start asking questions on what the consequences are going to be. Because the consequences could be, it depends a lot on how they frame it, because I see a lot of people saying, oh, the Democrats shot him. Oh, the anarchists shot him. Oh, there's a lot of people trying to push the blame. Or someone even said, oh, the Groypers shot him. And that's worrying to me, because I think that essentially whoever they finally decide who shot him, whoever they decide to blame for this, their group is essentially going to get, targeted. They're going to crack down on them. I think that could be very worrying for people in the alt-right like Nick Fuentes, who could get framed for this, even though like Nick Fuentes has been very much against violence. But if they sort of frame Nick Fuentes as being responsible for it, it doesn't really matter what he says. It doesn't really matter, because he is basically like, oh, he's guilty. He promoted violence, and now Charlie Kirk is dead. And that's the thing, is that because someone is dead, this is going to start leaning a lot on emotions on what the actual repercussions are. Because this could also be used, for example, against a lot of these leftists are like celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. And I'm like, you guys should really be careful about this, because they could start cracking down on you guys too. Like, and I'm kind of being very neutral in my commentary on this, because I think, my political opinions don't really matter in this situation. I think what's more important is that people don't understand that, hey, someone is fucking dead. It was all over video. It was all over the news. Everyone saw this guy get fucking shot. What does this mean? And what I think this is going to happen is that someone is going to have to pay the repercussions for this. Some group is going to get group punished for this. And they could really be like, oh, all the pro-Palestine people, all of you guys are getting cracked down. They're already cracking down on the pro-Palestine people. They could use this to concert their efforts and use this. Or I think the other likely option is either they go for the pro-Palestine people, no matter whether they're left or right, or they just go for the groypers and get rid of them. And they get rid of all of the alt-right people saying like, hey, you need to either settle in with the neocons or we're going to fuck you up and we're going to have the government crack down on you for killing one of our guys. And I think that's really the fundamental crux of the situation. And I think what's, I can keep going on this, but you already see a lot of these Jewish people going and using the situation and making it about themselves and making themselves the victims. And we see Jewish people posting their GoFundMes for not for Charlie Kirk's like family or whatever, but for them. We see these Jews using the situation about themselves, and you could be like, you're making this about the Jews. Charlie Kirk is dead, and you're making this about the Jews. I'm just saying what is happening right now. And because this is literally it's an assassination, so it's a political killing. This is going to be used for political purposes, and I think that, like, a lot of people are trying to, like, refrain from doing anything because of how emotional this is. But whether you like it or not, political actions are going to happen whether you do anything or not. And I think that's what's concerning to me, is the fact that I'm seeing all of these, Israeli and Jewish people make this about themselves. They're using this as a sort of situation, as a catalyst to push more pro-Israeli legislation, and is basically asking for money for Jews, not for Charlie Kirk's family. Emphasis on that, not for Charlie Kirk's family. They're asking you to donate to Jewish groups and to donate to Jews. And that's the thing about this situation, is no matter what happens, this is going to inevitably be used for the benefit of Israel. And that's the one thing I'm probably not going to, like, I think my political views are kind of obvious, but whether you like it or not, like, this, like, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I love Israel, and this is, like, this thing is being used for the benefit of Israelis as we fucking speak. And, this is such a major political killing that the ramifications can't fully be seen as I'm making this video, because I'm making this video the morning, like, after it happened, and I was following the situation all night, just trying to see what was happening, and that's what I saw. Jews making this about themselves. We don't have a fucking killer as of now. However they frame the killer, I think is going to determine, whoever the killer is according to the media. It doesn't really matter who the killer actually is. However the killer is framed by the media is going to determine the situation, and I think that is going to, but no matter what, I think someone's going to have to pay for this. Someone is going to suffer political consequences, and I mean, yeah, that's the video, I still think it was the Jews that killed them, though, so GG.